Good morning. So how was the week? Anything to share? Any opportunity arise? Yes, please.
I have a question about terminology.
Uh-huh.
I've come across two different phrases that refer to the same thing, but I think are different. I can't tell the difference. I understand what self-cherishing. So in the context of other cherishing, self-cherishing, compassion. So I want to overcome self-cherishing. But I have also encountered the phrase self-grasping ignorance. And I think they must be related, but I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. I think that self-cherishing arises from self-grasping. So self-grasping is the ignorance of how self exists. So we have this perception, misconception that self exists independently. Self does not rely on anything. It is solid and independent there. Because of that, we develop attachment to self. Because of that, then this self-cherishing attitude arises. Yeah.
Thank you.
May I ask, since we're asking questions about
Sure.
I'm very curious about the translation for aversion, I guess, because I'm thinking about from the Western side and the view of emotions and how they think about sort of universal versus more culturally determined, and disgust as a base reactive emotion. So I was wondering, but I couldn't think of disgust as a term that's ever used in any of the translations that I've seen. So I was curious if you would use the word aversion yourself if you were translating, or if there are nuances that we're not understanding with the translations.
Yeah. So we use this terminology, aversion, when we talk about the three poisons. So we normally, it's like some translate as desire, or attachment, that's one. And actually it's anger. We normally use anger. So in Tibetan there are two terms, shedang and kongdo. So for many years, I think for us, kongdo and shedang are same. But then, I think slowly we started to kind of make these nuances that there are differences. You can have anger, but you may not have shedang. Shedang is more of when you see the person, first of all, you have this kind of holding this grudge, you have this kind of hatred towards that person, and you have this uncomfortable feeling. And we normally use this repulsiveness, this feeling of repulsiveness. When the person sees you, automatically, it gives you, it kind of throws you back, repulse. When the magnets, when they're positive and positive, isn't it? It gives you. So that kind of. So His Holiness started to say that anger is not, it's because I think the Western psychology, there's strong, this saying that, anger is not really bad, anger is okay, all this. So maybe there's because of that. So His Holiness started to make distinction between anger and aversion, if we are using the right term. So I don't really know what exactly aversion means, but we use that to mean this shedang. Repulse, to be when you see somebody who you hate, you don't like, there's this feeling when you see that person, suddenly you don't want to associate with that person, you don't want to see that. There is this, it's because of, I think, some kind of grudge or that experience that you have. Yeah. So I think disgust maybe fall somewhere there.
Closer to
Yeah, yeah.
repulsed
Yes,
feeling
yes,
than
yeah.
an anger feeling. Yes, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That explains things.
I have something.
Sure.
I get the journals from Johns Hopkins Medical School, and there was an article. I meant to bring it, but I didn't have time this morning. It was about mindfulness, but it was done from a brain point of view, neurological and so forth. And it was very interesting because it was talking of something that really makes a lot of sense to me, that mindfulness is, as you talk about the pause, okay, and so that allows you to be free from whatever automatic impulses and so forth, correct? And so in the article, they're talking about how mindfulness and meditation, and they're studying all this, and brain studies and so forth, and it talks about allowing us, is saying the same thing you're saying, but the scientific, from their point of view of Western medicine, they're saying that it allows us to access the higher brain. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And by the way, not all, I know that in the past, when I came of age in psychology, you're supposed to, it's okay to be angry and so forth, but there's also lots of it that talks about, taking a pause and anger management and all that stuff. So we know that it's not all good. Taking a pause is one of them, and then replacing your thoughts with something else, which we've been talking about in here, and so that was very interesting. I'll bring the article.
Okay, thank you.
I thought, that's one way of putting it, and it's exactly, because when I talk to people, my clients, about anger, I'm saying, well, it's the lower brain, it's the reptilian brain. It tells us that we're right and that the other person are wrong and they're attacking us. It's like the dinosaur brain, and we need to pull back so we can use the higher brain, the frontal lobe, so we can see if we need to do something about it or not. So it was a good article.
Oh, I see. Okay, interesting. Maybe mindfulness, one of the benefits, maybe it clears the congestion. So it's like traffic, when it's too congested, you cannot really access, get there. So when we have a lot of things, when we do mindfulness, it kind of quietens our minds, and then the traffic, the congested traffic is cleared, so you can drive, maybe, without blockages. Okay, anything? How about applying this weapon of wheel? What is that now? Wheel of sharp weapon.
Hey, since we're talking about translation, how do you feel about the translation as wheel of swords instead of sharp weapons?
No, in Tibetan we call it chunja. Chunja is weapon. So when you talk about sword is just one kind of a weapon. So it is better to use weapon, because in there so many. Yeah.
So this bringing this verse up 31 that you have here got me to thinking. You were talking about, well, if after all this practice you're not seeing any progress, then you've been wasting your time. And so one of the things that comes to mind for me is there is this endless, bottomless pit of afflictions that I'm faced with. All the wrong view and attachment and aversion, and it comes up in all sorts of ways, expected and unexpected, whether I'm trying to sit on the cushion or whether I'm trying to get through my day or I'm trying to do something for someone or whatever. It shows up all sorts of times. It's not that stuff has gone away. It hasn't. And if I'm going to say that I've made any progress, it's that, all right, now I've learned how to notice that stuff, and sometimes I have the self-discipline to look at it rather than just reacting and to apply antidotes and so on. But if I were to think about this in terms of afflictions and the three poisons, if there's been a decrease in my supply of three poisons, I haven't really noticed it.
You have no what?
I haven't really noticed it.
Okay.
All I can notice is my own ability to notice them and more often to be able to work with them more constructively. So.
Yeah. Let me see.
Backtrack just for
Okay.
2 seconds. So I should be thinking, wheel of sharp weapons, that's more like a throwing star versus a sword, right?
Yeah, you can include anything in there. Any kind of weapon.
But I mean, if you had to pick one, it's more like the throwing star that you throw.
Yeah, it's up to you.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Throne of sharp weapons, throne of swords.
Is that a reference to that one TV show?
Yeah.
What about a sharp word that hurts somebody?
Yeah.
Well, that's more like a throwing star, right?
Uh-huh.
Because then you can't even see it coming at you.
No, here when we talk about this in Indian, I don't know, mythology or in a trailer, we have this Krishna, who has this rotating this chakra, we call it. So he just throws this, and then it's like boomerang. It cuts
Okay,
whatever it's and comes back.
Okay, so like a boomerang. It's like a really scary boomerang.
Yeah.
Can I add something also? I wasn't going to say anything, but to me the whole point of saying wheel of sharp weapons is that it's not just one thing that you do. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of weapons that you apply to your afflictions, and it's not just that you have this sword that cuts through your ignorance. There's lots of ways that you have to cut through your ignorance. There's lots of ways that you have to respond to your aversion and your attachment. So that's why it's weapons and not just a sword.
Yeah. So here when we talk about the weapon, wheel of weapon, it's basically your negative karma that is in the form of weapon. So you can, when things happen to us, unpleasant things happen to us, it's saying that it is just, it's your negative karma, but we put it in a poetry way that, in the form of sharp weapon, how it cuts you, it comes back and cuts you. So that's what it's trying to say.
And I think we, in my opinion, can't overlook the fact that we're talking about a wheel. And by contrast, we have the wheel of Dharma and then the wheel of sharp weapons or negative karma. So it's something that has occurred that you're learning from. It's a teaching, a reminder. No idea it's connected.
Yeah.
Seems to me.
Yeah. So, as Ken raised, we are very rich in our afflictive emotions. So we will notice that it is always there. But we should also, relentless, is it? Relentlessly we have to apply the antidotes. And I think most of you who came here and study, I think even though you don't see a market, reduction or anything, but at least you know that, oh, I'm angry, or this anger is not good, or I have this, at least there's this acceptance and then recognition, and then later we kind of, regret that, oh, I shouldn't have done this, I'm like this. So when I was in school, there was no regret. I never even realized that I have this anger issue, I told you. So only later I became aware of that. So that is the first step. So what I'm saying is, it is not useless as long as you continue applying this. But if you just listen and go home and don't apply, then it's useless. We have to utilize our knowledge, isn't it? Yeah.
Progress, not perfection.
Yeah. We always say the incremental progress. We know that when our salary, when it comes to incremental, isn't it? It's just only $50 more or $10 more.
Oh,
Salary.
Salary,
not the plant.
not the plant.
Money.
Yeah. So any more? If not, we will dive into this. Where were we? Where are we?
36.
Yeah.
Yeah, we finished
Done,
35.
yeah,
We talk about.
We did that.
So I think it was very good, you know. We came across this verse now. Now Diana cannot evict us. She cannot, yes, kick us out.
Although we're kind of pushing her.
Okay. 36, right. Sesir laso mindu chungwe tse tamzi tsudim tsushi masungwe lenyen chunja rangla korwa yin tani tamzi laso sungwar chas. We finished that, didn't we?
Yes.
we did.
Yeah, we finished that. We finished that. So this is the one. Avaricious. Doba chela jorbe pongbe tse chindang kunjo choba ma yibe lenyen chunja rangla korwa yin tani chujin tala zumbar chas. When I am avaricious yet bereft of wealth, it is the weapon of evil karma turning upon me for failing to give charity and make offerings to the three jewels. From now on, I will strive in giving an offering. So the gist is that our desire has no ends. We always want more and more, but we end up not being fulfilled of that wishes. So when that happens, instead of getting angry and upset and feeling low, we should think that, oh, because I haven't accumulated the merit, the causes and conditions in my past life, I didn't engage in the practice of giving, and that's why I am experiencing this. So now on, I will engage in accumulating the causes of wealth, which is to give. But then when it comes to wealth, I think we discuss. I think I mentioned earlier why wealth is not a cause for lasting happiness. Even though we have this notion that, oh, money, wealth, all this can bring happiness.
I was wondering about that. Why is that there?
Which one?
Well, this one here, because it says, I will. It says, it really implies if you give to the three jewels, you will not be bereft of wealth, and
Failing to give charity and making offerings, failing, isn't it? We are experiencing this as a consequence of not engaging in this.
Right,
We fail to engage in charity and we fail to make offerings to the three jewels. Or is it something wrong?
Well, I'm just wondering, why should we aspire? I mean, it seems to say that if you do this in future life, you will not be bereft of wealth. And so why should want, having plenty of wealth, why should it be motivating us?
Yeah.
That's my question.
No, first of all, this is about when we suffer because, we desire this, but we don't get it. So many people suffer. I want iPhone, but you don't get iPhone. Maybe there are young people who commit suicide just because, they don't get what they want. So people do experience, I wanted to have a good life, I wanted to have more life, I wanted a better salary, but because you work so hard, but then you don't get it. And then, you experience unhappiness. So when this happens, you say that, you have to understand that you lack the causes to bring about. And also, why do we need wealth? There's not talking about to be very wealthy. But if you are bereft of basic needs, you cannot even practice. You will be occupied with,
Conditions.
Resources for your resource. You will be spending all your time, what do you call, collecting all the resources for your survival. But we are very lucky. We don't have to worry about basic needs.
So it's referring to the life, in the teaching, life of leisure and opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So here is not that, you don't aspire for wealth at all. But you can aspire for wealth. You need wealth. If you have wealth, you can do a lot of things. You can do charity, you can help people. There are so many things. But your main goal is, pursuit of wealth. Then that's the problem. Just having wealth is not a problem.
I've always thought of wealth as being happy, actually, and the word richness and wealth. Wealth is like well-being, it's like it doesn't have a monetary or an external materialist.
Yeah, of course you can use that term, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm wealthy, I'm rich in knowledge, I'm rich in spiritual practice. You can use that. But general, conventional understanding is that wealthy is money. If I have a lot of money, then I'm wealthy, I'm rich. Yes?
And I think it has to do so much with attachment, because you can
Yes.
have two very wealthy people. One is not attached and has, can do charities and give, and where the other one is miserly because they are always accumulating and trying to accumulate and fear of loss. So it's not the wealth, it's the attachment to it.
Yes,
I think
you're
the
right.
key word here is avaricious. I think that's the key word. Yeah, that's it.
Greedy, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Well, avaricious is not just greedy. It's like a miserly. It's like you really.
You want somebody else's.
Well,
So-
that's
Generous.
No, in Tibetan word is dobachela. That means you always want more and more and more. So it's like there's no limit, where there's no, actually it's more of a lack of contentment. So you want more and more. So in this translates just when I, a greedy person, lose my wealth, it is the weapon of my own evil ends. This is a bit different, isn't it? Lose doesn't appear in the Tibetan version.
Yeah, greedy is.
Yeah. So when we talk about wealth and rich, it is not about how much you have. It is about the contentment you have. Remember, I think I told a story about this during Buddha's time. Somebody wanted to make charity, wanted to give something to the poorest person on the earth. And so this person approached Buddha and said that I wanted to give this to the poorest person on the earth. Who should I give to? And then Buddha pointed to the king, the local king. He said that go and give to him. So he was shocked. The king, a lot of treasure there, full of, rich and wealth. And then, Buddha explained, yes, he has a lot of money and all, not money, and richness, gold and silver, all this, but he doesn't have contentment. So if you don't have contentment, then you are the poorest person. And of course, wealthy person doesn't mean a happy person. I told you about people who sleep with their mobile phone, always checking the stock market. When every time Trump makes a remark, they cannot sleep because it goes up and down. So it says, what was that? So when I am avaricious yet bereft of wealth, it is the weapon of evil karma turning upon me for failing to give charity and make offerings to the three jewels. So Buddha himself said, Chimbe longzhe, chim getes. If you give, the result is wealth. You get wealth. And then it all boils down to self-cherishing attitude. Again, charity I mentioned. I want to volunteer. I want to give something. But then, what happens to me? If I give this, I will lose. If I go there, I cannot do that. I have something on. Because of that, I cannot go to that charity. I cannot volunteer because I have something on. So always I comes first. Because of that, we are thwarted from doing many of these noble deeds. So all this comes back to self-cherishing. From your experience, is it true that the more you have, you become more miser, more stingy?
That means that this the misery or the suffering, not having wealth, is more to do with the containment, not the wealth itself.
Yeah,
That
is there? Yeah,
message.
yeah. We lack contentment.
That's the only thing that we are lacking, not the wealth itself.
Yes.
I've observed that inherited wealth leads to a lot more selfishness, whereas someone who's wealthy through their own efforts, I've seen great charity, almost a detachment. And my thinking is that it's because that person who creates the wealth directly understands how it's made, whereas the person that inherits great wealth doesn't really have any idea how it is, and so there's a lot more fear.
Yeah. It can go either way, isn't it?
Yeah, I can say that I think some of this goes back to that we have an easier time having a broader view. I mean, this has been shown that people who are less wealthy give a higher percent of their income. And it can be not necessarily because the person who has wealth is greedy, as it is that they're just so bound up in their own stuff that they're doing. And I can attest to this. Whenever I felt the poorest, that would be when I would give the most to the food shelves, because I was in solidarity with all of the other people who were poor. And when I am not, I'm busy making sure I've covered my kids' tuition for college, which is an extremely privileged thing to do. And it's not because I'm, I'm still taking care of somebody else, but it's my child, not someone else's child. It's, that's not because I want theirs. It's literally because I'm caught up in my own things.
Yeah. I just want to be a devil now. So when you are generous to your children, do you call that generosity?
No.
That's right. Because it's my child.
Yeah. So there's still, I and my, isn't it?
Yep, that's right. There is also an American thing, at least I'll say this, right? Where if you take care of your own, it means somebody else doesn't have to. And so there is an element of social responsibility to the larger world, that if I take care of my children, no one else has to. And so to that extent, that can be generosity.
Well, I'll be a devil's advocate to yours. the Buddha says, he talks about bodhicitta and so on and so forth. He talks about, the model is that of, sorry about that, dads. He uses the words, the mother for her only child. There you go. There's an element of selflessness.
No, that's, of course, you're saying, to all sentient beings, you have to have that kind of affection, the kind of affection that a mother would have for her only child, to all sentient beings.
Right.
If you have only that for your own child, that's not difficult.
But he uses it as an example.
Yeah, that's the analogy. What kind of attitude, isn't it? So we need to extend that to all. That is not easy.
Does that mean train tuition? Hey, train tuition to everybody.
Yeah, I think I understand, because here is the culture is different. For Tibetan parents, yeah, they will pay everything. They will, even after they finish that, they will buy a car. They're already thinking of buying a house for the children. It's different. But in the Western culture, if you reach 18, out you go, isn't it? So you are on your own, isn't it? Is it the same?
It depends.
Yeah, but the recent years,
It's not for everyone.
Yeah, what has happened is, in psychology we have this developmental psychology. So it used to be like adolescence and then adulthood. They have come up with the middle one, emerging adulthood. That's a new one, because that there are now new group of children who are already finished their college, all this thing, but still they cannot support. So they are still living with their parents. So they call this group of adults, they call it emerging adulthood.
And include another term in there now that is culturally popular. It would be arrested development.
That's
Where
ecology.
you get to a point you don't go any further than arrested development. At the sake of being contentious, I apologize in advance. One of the, do you know what GoFundMe is?
Yeah.
Oh,
The thing I have, I disagree with about that is that it's an opportunity for people who, like strangers, to feel generous about somebody's personal cause. But what they're doing is acting as if they were adding them to the family, and they're being very selective. I select you for my generosity. I don't like these, it's like a game show. I don't care for these other people's stories, but I like your story, so I'll give you my money. So it's sort of like, who puts on the best performance need to get the money.
There's that attachment.
Yeah, so it's like, it's like, if you have to run a whole society based on a game show phenomena of who makes the best video and who makes the best appeal, we've lost something.
Yeah. Okay.
You have opened us up to a very long discussion here. We may never get past that verse.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I just feel like the ultimate test of miserliness in the context of your own children is it's one thing to feed your own children, but if you're taking your children home from school and there's another child that's all alone and they're hungry, would you feed that child too?
Yeah, so that's
It's supposed to
where I was
fit.
going to go. I was going to say, it's generosity and selflessness are what they are. You can direct them towards your children, but the point is that the Buddha says that's not enough. You really have to direct this to everyone as if they were your own children. You've learned to do this for your own children, but you don't even have to do that for your children. There's nothing that obligates you to do this, and there are parents who abandon their children. It's hopefully not very common, but it happens. So more than we would like. But I would not belittle or diminish the selflessness, the selflessness of taking care of one's children, and I think it's a huge thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know. I guess what we have to do is we have to look into our hearts and say, all right, I can do this for my child and my family? Can I do this for others as well?
That's the model. That's the
Yeah.
model.
Anyway, it all boils down to motivation, isn't it? Whether you give to one charity, this charity, to your children, whatever it is, what is your motivation? As long as your motivation is sincere, genuine in helping the other person, it's good. So just to wrap up this, basically saying that we always we are in this kind of situation. We wanted something, we desire for some things, but we don't get it, so we are unhappy. So first of all, it's saying that if we are in this kind of situation, you don't really need to have the wealth. It is just making some switch within. We can cure that. So that here is that when we have contentment, if we develop contentment, if we generate contentment, then we will be free from that kind of suffering. That's one. But even then, you really want all this, whatever you desire to be fulfilled, then engage in the practice of generosity. That's the main point. Kusu nyende korji nyebe tse, kusu nyenshin kongzhi chukba yi, lenyen sunja rangla korwa yi, tane lashin ngangyu ringwar chas. When I am ugly and am mistreated by companions, it is the weapon of evil karma turning upon me for erecting ugly images while in the turmoil of anger. From now on, I will be patient when creating holy images. So, it is a common thing when people call names because of how you look, because you have this unpleasant look. So, because of that, we suffer. So, when this happens, it says, what is the cause? So, the causes, there are, here it is mentioned two. So, one is when you, what is the word now? When you erect images, holy images, you might have erected wrongly. So there are proportions that you have to follow. For the Tibetan artists, there is a measurement. So you cannot simply go and draw. So there are certain measurements. The Buddha's head should be like this, the hand should be like this, there are measurements. So if you want to increase that, you have to go by that. So if you don't follow that and you just try, drawing, of course it won't be well proportioned because of that kind of action. So we are talking about the past life. So of course at the moment, many of us, we haven't even tried to draw a Buddha's or holy image, but in the past we must have done. That's one. The other one is when we get angry. One of the consequences of anger, you will be born ugly in the next life and also in this very life. We know, how anger makes you look ugly. When you get angry, all that makeup doesn't work. It will be just a waste of all that putting on that expensive makeup.
Using up all my time today, so. But I was just thinking of this one yesterday. Wasn't thinking of this verse, I was thinking of this concept because I'm very aware of the Tibetan Buddhist concept of proportionality, statues and so on. And I hadn't thought about being to help guide you to having pleasing statues. What occurred to me was the virtually maybe thousands of Buddha statues I've seen in my lifetime. I think that Tibetan Buddhism is the only one that has that, is the only practice that has that concept of proportionality. I can't think of any other practice or tradition where that's, so you see all sorts of statues of Buddha, and all, and things that, and brings in a whole concept of well, I like that one, or that one's ugly, or that one's, which is, clearly they're all,
Yeah.
you see them all as good, they're all as beautiful, but there's such a variety. And almost, in some cases, you have to stop and think, what was the person trying to do here in creating this? Was this strictly their best intention from the heart, or they tried to make something that was more grotesque? What was going on? And I don't see that at all in the
Yeah.
tradition.
Because they have their rules.
Yeah. So I think one of the story I think we all know about Nyamba Sangden. Remember in Lamrim, there's this Nyamba Sangden, a monk, whose appearance was so ugly and so repulsive that the Sangden Rinpoche described the person in a very, I think it really paints the picture. Rinpoche says that that person is so ugly, they're so repulsive that if you have not eaten your food yet, you wouldn't be able to eat. If you have already finished eating, it will make you vomit. So this is to show the extent of ugliness that person is. But this person, very sweet voice, singing voice. So when it was asked, when Buddha was asked, what is the karma? Why he has this, on the one hand it's so repulsive in terms of appearance, but when you hear from here, it is like mesmerizes you. You cannot help but go there. And then the king when king heard that and he wanted to go and said that you better don't go near him, you better don't, look at him. So when Buddha explained that, one time during the previous Buddha's time, a king or somebody was building this stupa. He was in the labor group. But when he heard that they are building such a huge stupa, he didn't like, this big, ugly one, when can this will be completed, it's just a useless, why, all this. So he was criticizing the stupa. But eventually, it got completed, and it was so beautiful. And he regretted that he made those comments. So whatever the wages that he has earned, he bought a golden bell and offered that to the stupa. So because of that, because of criticizing that stupa, he had that, as a result he had that look. But because of offering the bell, which is very nice, suiting to the ears, he had this magnificent voice. And then so these are the things that we have to be very careful when we. It is a common practice. How does this statue look? Does it look nice or not? So there's a story in Lamrim that when Adisha somebody asked Adisha, bringing a Manjushri statue, and said, how does this look? Does it look good? And Lama Adisha said that there is no good or bad look about Manjushri, but the artist is a medium one. So we can talk about how good the artist is, but we cannot really judge and say, it doesn't look well or this thing, So it's important. And then I have a relative in Bhutan who was my student. And I was told that he's really good. He's an artist. He left monastery and he started as artist there. He said that he's really talented, but no patience. So what happens is, so he gets these contracts. So if you make this painting, I will pay you that. So of course, before start, he already collects half of the money, and then he starts. And then he starts with very tedious, very nice, and then towards the end, he runs out of money, and he needed money, so he speeds. He quickens this, and then he ends up with this. So these are also, creating this kind of causes. And then, of course, when in 1959, when during that time in Tibet, how many stupas, how many statues were burned? And also during early times, during the Mughal reign, isn't it? In Bodh Gaya, you go to all this, you see those images, Buddha images, all, either the stupa, the image has no hand, no leg, or the ear is gone, all this. So engaging in these kind of actions, we will be born with an ugly face.
I'm just curious because we're on topic. What if you steal an idol?
That's stealing.
But what is there direct consequences of that?
Of course.
What would an example be?
It depends on, whether your attitude towards that stupa, whether you have this reverence as a Buddha or it's just a material thing.
So it depends
it's
on
just
how much
something,
respect you have? Okay.
And as long as you stole that, still it is negative action. It doesn't matter whether it is a Buddha statue or
You can't
it's just
pray to it before you steal it, and then it just
no, you cannot steal. You cannot steal. You must ask the permission, isn't it? You call Majimba Lemba. So when I'm ugly, and so when this happens, we have to remember. So I think some in schools, young people suffer when they are, when the looks does not conform with the norm. So people call you names and all this, and people really suffer. So this one is when this happens. So that's why I always remind people that this teaching, set of teaching, is really for advanced level. If you are a beginner coming to Buddhism for the first time, and when you hear all this, it's like, it's all my fault, it's all my fault, it's all my fault. It is very difficult. But once you have some understanding of how karma works, then it becomes real means to cope difficult situations. So like this, when you are experiencing that kind of thing, if you are able to think this way, it will comfort you. It will lessen our suffering. But if you don't have, then it is a bit difficult. Kangdar chejang chakdang chukbetse marung chunye reng su chukbayi lenyen sunja rangla korwayi tani rengke chukne yungwar cha or tani ngake chukne yungwar cha. There are two versions. When attachment and anger erupts, no matter what I do, it is the weapon of negative karma turning upon me for allowing my untamed evil mind to become rigid. From now on, I will root out this obstinate heart. So we Tibetan term for Ringba. Ringba means, here is translated obstinate. So it says here, saying that when attachment and anger erupts. So basically when, I think we all have this tendency when we see somebody whom we are close with, attachment arises. And then of course, this aversion arises when we encounter someone whom we have difficulty with. So this, for some people, it is stronger. Like even for parents, when their children leaves for university and all that, so much attachment that they cannot let go. We have a case where in monastery, a young monk from Ladakh joined our monastery, and then 1-2 months later he had to go back because the mother couldn't manage. She was like almost going crazy. So they have to send the son back. Otherwise, she will go crazy. So these are, this happens. And then anger, some people, for no reason, all the time, angry. Just a small thing, a very trivial thing, and it just ignites anger. So this says, when this happens, it is because that we have failed to apply antidotes to all this attachment and anger. Because we have not applied, we are not mindful of applying these antidotes, then we became obstinate. We call it rangba. So now, whatever you do, there's no much effect. So now, from now on, I will root out this obstinate heart. So from now on, I will try my best to apply antidotes whenever all these afflictive emotions arise. So first, we need to be mindful. If we are mindful, then there is chance that we will apply. If we are not mindful at all, then of course. That's why, remember, Cholam kundu, ranju la tokjin yomon kema ta. Remember last time, one of the assignment, I printed and gave it to you, the 8 verses of mind training. It is to say that whatever you do, whether you are walking, you are sleeping, you are engaging with other people, anything, all the time examine your mind, whether afflictive emotions arise or not. If you find that they are there, then instantly confront them and apply antidote. So it's saying that because we failed to do that, that's why we are now like that. Oh, it's already time. Okay, let's stop here. Yeah, the picture.
This isn't Jack Nicholson.
No. This is the Australian. Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman.
Is that Wolverine?
Yeah, Wolverine. But you see, he is in angry mode now. How ugly he looks, even though he is such a handsome guy. So that's what anger does. If you want to look pretty and handsome, so never get angry.
Some years ago, we were going to the airport, and there was a man who was very angry with the desk person. And I stopped and I looked at him, and he looked kind of like that, and I said to Casper, "Is that what I look like?" Yes, that's okay. That's very good motivation.
Yeah.
I'll just carry a mirror.
Verse 40 and 41. Drupa kanje miksu masong tse tawa nyemba kokdu shubayi lenyen sunja rangla kowayi tani chije shendunyi tu chas. Kejur che yang rangyu matu se. Okay, first let's go. When all my meditative practices fail in their aims, it is the weapon of negative karma turning upon me for allowing pernicious views to enter my heart. From now on, whatever I do will be solely for others' sake. This is very common to all of us, isn't it? We try to achieve some level of progress in our meditation, but every time we do, there is nothing seeable result. In my case, I don't know about you. So it says that when this happens, it is because it is the consequences of negative karma turning upon us for allowing pernicious view to enter. So here when we say tawanyamba or pernicious, so in the commentary it refers to self-cherishing attitude. Even though there are all kinds of views, but here it refers to self-cherishing attitude. So that's why it says, from now on, whatever I do will be solely for others' sake. So until now, we have been, this I is so important, this self-centeredness. So because of that, we have done so many things just for us, and sometimes at the expense of others, sometimes ignoring others' happiness, others' welfare. So because of that, we have difficulty gaining any attainment in our meditative practices. So from now on, instead of self-cherishing ourselves, we should be cherishing others. We should be working for other people. Kejor cheja rangyu matu tse di chetab tangdo langba yi lenyen sunja rangla korwa yi tani tarban dola timbar chas. When my mind remains untamed despite spiritual practice, it is the weapon of evil karma turning upon me for eagerly pursuing mundane ambitions. From now on, I will concentrate on aspiring for liberation. So this is also another common thing that we do. This is the causes. Most of the time, we are motivated by worldly concerns. All the time. It's always about what will happen to me, what will people say, or if I do this, what will they say about me? It's all about your name, your fame, and then of course material pursuit and all this. So even when we claim to be practicing, even when we are doing spiritual practices, it is very difficult to separate that worldly concerns. I always give this example. Tibet, we have this practice of making offerings to Sangha community. So many families on special days, they will make offerings. So sometimes we do that because if I make this kind of offering, people will praise me, people will talk about my generosity. And because of that, sometimes they offered 50 rupees to each monk, I should offer 70. You see, there's a competition. So it's same. And then we meditate all this thing, if I do meditation, people will say, he is a good practitioner. He practices every morning, We want people to talk. So that's why I say, because of that, we have difficulty. We don't see much, we don't see any results. So normally it says, Tokyo Tamsum. Tokyo Tamsum. It's to let go of your material things. Let me rephrase. It says it is harder to let go of the fame and name than your material possessions. Many retreaters, they call recluse, they go to the forest to be in the cave. They don't have anything. They are able to let go of all their possessions and all that. But that fame and name is still there for some. Some, they're all, even though they are doing meditation or this, they what people are saying, maybe they are saying, if I do this, people will say, like 3 years retreat. If we really check the motivation, are you really doing that for your spiritual practice, or you want to be known one of those who has completed 3 years retreat? So it is always there. So it's saying that it is much harder to let go of your fame and name than the material things. So because of that, we have, from our own this life's experience, we can tell that when we do practice all this, there is always this always there. I and my fame, what will people say, what anything. So it's in there. Because of that, we have difficulty seeing any substantial results. Yes.
I was talking with a it's the Hinayana practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
He was reminding me that you first have to make things good for yourself.
Mm.
And maybe in this case of going on a retreat to a cave to meditate, it seems that there would still have to be a little bit of what I've heard called as good selfish, to put yourself in that position. Because it's very hard for me to think of entirely erasing my self-motivation. Because part of that self-motivation is to get liberation from myself for the sake of other beings. It's how do you reconcile that difficulty? Because it is seemingly a contradiction.
Of course, when we say that, we have to cherish others, it doesn't mean that you should just ignore yourself, It is not saying that. Because if you ignore yourself, you won't be able to benefit others. Especially if you don't take care of your body, how are you going to, even do practice, let alone, helping others? So you have to take care of yourself. But when it comes to things, for helping others and all these things, so when you have choice, then you have to make the right choice. Yeah. Just, what do you call, like Buddha. I think there's this story. Buddha wanted to help that one person who was going to commit a heavy negative karma because he was planning to murder all those in the ship. So only way is, that doesn't really align with the story or with what my point. Yeah, what was I trying to say?
You try and talk about it's okay to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You're looking for, for an example.
Example. that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Isn't it about the bodhisattva, the three types of bodhisattvas? The king-like, and then the shepherd-like, and then I've got the other one. But I know, like another Rinpoche, and during the Lamrim. Says that although the Dalai Lama is like he exemplifies the shepherd-like, everybody will it'll remain until everyone reaches enlightenment. He says, I think it's the king-like. I think he encourages that for us we need to achieve it first. We need to be able to get there first, and then you'll be skillful enough to so that's what I was thinking when you were talking about that.
So the story, forget about it. It's not relevant here. So anyway, so even in the Bodhisattva's practice, so the practice, one of the practice is to give your body. If anybody asks for flesh, is to give. Because those bodhisattvas, when they hear that somebody is asking for something, to give something, it fills them so much joy, bodhisattvas. But then it says that you can only give your flesh and body only when you reach certain level, certain stage. So that is to say that, when you are not ready, you shouldn't do that. Because you are not there yet. So that means you still have to take care of yourself. So it doesn't mean that, you just forget about yourself and then just do. So that doesn't even align with the common sense, isn't it? So when my mind remains untamed, so spiritual practice. So it all boils down to what is spiritual practice? Taming of mind. You have to bring some changes within. So when we are motivated or when we are influenced by all this worldly concern, we are not being tamed. Instead, all our attachment, our anger, the jealousy, greed, all these are fueled, given rise to this. So that is not the spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is to counter those afflictive emotions. So whatever practice you do, as long as it counters afflictive emotions, then it becomes a spiritual practice. But instead, it inflates your ego. It gives rise to more afflictive emotions. It increases your greed and all that. That's not practice. So this is main thing. So if we are not careful, sometimes we think that we are engaging in spiritual practice, but it's not. It's not. So this is all about, because we, in our past lives, we had this misconception that we are practicing Dharma, but we are not. We are all the time engaging in this worldly concerns. Because of that, at this time, we have difficulty seeing any achievement. So from now on, I will concentrate on aspiring for liberation. So this is where we say renunciation. So instead of seeing qualities of the samsara and chasing after these sensual pleasures, we should see the nature of the suffering of samsara, and then you have to generate this aspiration all the time to achieve liberation. So when we have this kind of motivation, then we have renunciation. You know who this is, isn't it? Modi. Dumatala takshin göbe tse. Tell me sando toka timba yi lenyen sunja rangla korwa yi tani kanglang togluk sabar chaos. When I feel remorse, as soon as I sit down and reflect. Sit down and reflect, yeah. It is the weapon of negative karma turning upon me for being shamelessly fickle and clamoring high status. From now on, I will be vigilant in my associations with others. So this is the cause is saying that we are being fickle-minded and we are chasing after big names. In Tibetan we call sandok. Asa. Asa talen joga shugu lugle tuans. I don't know how to translate that. So some people, when a new person comes, they're so friendly. And then another comes on, forgotten that person. Now that person is it's everything. So you are very fickle-minded when it comes to your friends. And here we're talking about our teachers. We change our teachers. So when somebody, he has such and such name, when a teacher with a name comes, you rush towards him. And then another teacher comes by, that was already forgotten. So you don't even remember his name. So you're already, there with the new teacher. So he says, it's because of all this changing. And Toga Timba means here, Toga Timba is it translated as clamoring high status. This is when we chase after high practices. Or I don't want to do preliminary practices. I want to do the actual practice. Or I don't want to do meditation on mindfulness. I want to do Tantra practice. Or I don't want to do action Tantra, all this. I want to do the highest yoga one. Or I want to study, this, what do you call that? Mahamudra. Wherever there's this Maha and all this, I want to do that. I don't want to. Yeah. So it's because of that. We chase after all this high status. The Lama, when it comes to Lama, high status Lama, you want to go there. And then practice-wise, so that's why sometimes, because of this, some Lamas come and always try to give something unique and esoteric practice just to attract people. So it's because people behave that way. So he said, that's not right.
So why should the teachers?
Yeah, shouldn't, isn't it? Shouldn't. But maybe trying to. Yeah. So the consequences is so that's when you try to decide to do something else, and the minute you sit down to do that, you feel, regret. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. This is not my practice. That's what happens when you are fickle-minded in terms of finding teachers and also chasing after these high-class teaching. Shengi mukyu ranyi lubeze rangdo ngaje tongdo chebayi lenyen sunja rangla kurwayi tani kanglang ngunzen chungwar cha tani kanglang doba chungwar cha. There are two versions. So this is when I am deceived by others' treachery. So when you are conned. So recently, I think a month ago, there was this news in India that a monk from Drupa monastery was conned of thousands, I think it's like quite a substantial amount of money. Those spam, not spam, what do you want? Yeah, so they send an email to we are working for this charity, whatever it is, or we work together. That's what happens. And I used to receive that. And I used to write, this is a fraud and you are going to jail. I reply to them.
Did they still send it?
I don't think so. But of course there are so many of this, so you get receipt. Yeah, so people really believe. So first they will send you, and then when you reply, they will say, you need to. It's like just reading there, you can tell that it is a fraud. You say, I have inherited, how many millions of dollars, and then, because I am the only one, I wanted to give it, share with you, but for this I need to, all this. You can tell from there. But somehow, one of the monks, he was caught in there. And he didn't have that amount of money, but he borrowed from his friends. It appeared in the newspaper. And he has the picture of this lady, I'm sure that was a fake, in the military, dress, uniform. So he was conned of that money. So I don't know how he's going to pay that. So when this happens, it says that it's okay. It is the weapon of negative karma turning upon me. You see, that's what I mean. You tell the person that it's okay, it's just think this way, it's your karma. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Anyway, if you're able to think that way, that helps. Okay, I must have. So Tibetan, we have a very good attitude. When bad things befalls, we always say, this must be, one way of averting bigger misfortune. When we drop something, we say, that's good. Now this must have averted something bigger misfortune. That's the way it's like this. So this one, we say, okay, in my past, I must have done something. For here, of course, it says that being conceited and greedy. So do you see the balloon here? If you are inflated with ego and pride, there is no way you can absorb any knowledge or any qualities of others. The way the raindrops bounce on the balloon, because it's like your ego is inflated like the balloon. There's no way, nothing can sit there. And then being greedy. Sometimes, I feel that if the greed is taken out of the equation in this world, it will be so great. The war and all this is all from greed. You want to make corruption. It's all because of greed. You want to make money. You want to acquire this. You want to have this. Because of that, then all this corruption happens. When my studies, let me read. 年些超当约束送为菜，推己卷nam 人了马上班，来年春家让了考完，他呢给人当呢帮我 chas. So this is mainly about how to listen to Dharma and how to teach. What kind of attitude, what kind of motivation we should have. So when my studies and teachings fall prey to attachment and anger, it is the weapon of negative karma turning upon me for failing to reflect on the ills of demons in my heart. From now on, I will examine adverse forces and overcome them. So even though we are listening to Dharma, it says that we are we fall prey to attachment and anger. So some people come to listen to Dharma for fame. Some people come to Dharma just to gain knowledge, no intention to put into practice. Just that, I want to be a scholar. And then some people may come for Dharma classes so that, if I learn this, I can make money, I can write a book, I can teach, I can earn a living. So he said, even we are listening to Dharma, we are all stained by this kind of ill intention. And likewise, a teacher also, if the teacher, when they teach, it is for the fame, or if I teach and all this, I will get fame, I will become famous, people will say, he is such a good teacher. Or if I teach and all this, people will be happy with me and they will give me money. So it seems that we shouldn't do this. As a result, since we have done that in the past, that's why even when we are in this kind of situation, our mind, we cannot stop our mind from engaging in attachment and anger, under the influence of attachment and anger. So do you remember how to listen to Dharma teachings? In Lamrim.
Upright vessel.
Yeah, so they are first to abandon the three flaws when it comes to listening. So the first one is
An overturned vessel.
overturned vessel,
Second is a leaky vessel.
leaky vessel,
And the third is a contaminated vessel.
contaminated vessel. So when we listen to Dharma, first of all, we should not listen like the upturned vessel. Nothing goes in. If the vessel is upturned, no matter how many times you pour, nothing goes in. Likewise, if you don't focus, if you don't listen, physically you are here, but nothing goes in. That's one way. We should listen attentively. And then the second one is the stained, yeah. And what was that called?
Second one is leaky vessel.
Leaky vessel or stained vessel. Yeah. So let's say leaky vessel. You listen here, goes out. And at the end of the class, what did I learn? Nothing. You heard it, but you are unable to retain that information. They say you shouldn't do that. You should put to memorize. You should go back and go through and remind yourself, study, so that it won't leave your memory. And the third one is the intention, motivation, the worldly concern. Just for fame, name, money, all this is the stained one. That's the flaws that we should avoid. And then there are 6 attitudes. Anybody recall? Lamrim students. Rangla neba dabe dushi. Chola men dabe dushi. Kewe shenyi la memba dabe dushi. So when you listen to teaching, you listen as if you are a patient. That's true, isn't it? We are actually suffering from this chronic illness for the longest period of time. All these afflictive emotions that give rise to all kinds of suffering. So we have this, we are patient in that sense. And then we should view the teaching as the medicine, and then teacher as the doctor. So if you put them to practice, then you should have this belief that if you put them to practice, it will cure us of this chronic illness. Then choge tsula ring to nebe dushi. No, tishin shewala ki Buddha be dushi. So view Buddha as the holy, someone holy and reliable. And then, of course, you listen to Dharma so that Dharma can survive. It will go on. Because if you listen and you can spread that, and then you can spread to another, share with another person, that person will share with another person, so that this way we can lengthen the survival of Buddhism. So your intentions should be like that. Likewise, the teacher is same except only 5, I think, except 1. So teacher also teach with this intention to really help the students, and also to contribute towards the survival of Dharma, Buddha Dharma. So these are the ways to listen to teaching. So if we fail to do that way, and if we are contaminated by worldly concerns, then we will experience into all this that this attachment and anger will always control us. Okay, we still have 4 minutes. Sangje tamje nyendo songwe se tinlin tamje lokbar chewa yi lenyin sunja rangla kurwa yi tani tinlin chiwe langbar chas. So this is when all the good I have done turns out badly. It is the weapon of negative karma turning upon me for repaying others' kindness with ingratitude. From now on, I will respectfully repay others' kindness. Basically, he's saying that, You have to be grateful. You have to show gratitude to others, kindness. In Tibetan, we have this phrase, "Tinjin lakwa tordung." One who has been kind to you, you just stone the person's hand that has helped you save. There's a story. This person, he fell into what do you call it? Abyss, is it? Abyss. And there was this monkey. Monkey held the person from that wherever he fell down from the cliff up there, and only way to bring him up is through carrying. So when he carried that, of course the monkey was exhausted. He was carrying that human body, and then he fell asleep there, and then he wanted to kill. He actually threw a stone. So that's what it's saying. So we shouldn't do that. We should appreciate others' kindness and then show appreciation. So otherwise this will happen. When all good I have done turns out badly. That's the consequences. Okay, I think we will stop here. Do we have time? So until here, we have finished discussing in detail of the specific consequences of the specific actions. From now on, it talks about, in general, kind of making the summary now, summarizing all that we have discussed in the past. So like this one, in belief when calamities befall me like bolts of lightning, it is the weapon of negative karma turning upon me, just like the ironsmith who is slain by his own swords. From now on, I will be heedful against negative actions. So he's saying that if the ironsmith, if somebody kills him and dies, it says that he died from the sword, that very sword he made. So likewise, when we experience all these unpleasant experiences, it is nobody's fault. He's saying that it is all our own doing. It's all the result of our own negative actions. So like that. So that concludes our class for year 2019. So today is the last class, and then I will see you, those who are coming for the retreat, and the rest I will see you next year. And Happy New Year if I don't see you. Yeah, okay, let me just say a few things. Okay, so today being the last class, we should do a special dedication. I'm sure you have been doing dedication all the time. So over the months, over the weeks, we have attended, and we have all attended the class with good motivation. So we have accumulated a lot of merit. So it is important to dedicate. So how do we dedicate our merits? So if we just dedicate merit for your, this life's welfare, this life's happiness and joy, like, oh, may this merit, may I have a good job. Oh, may I get big increment, big rise in salary, big house, big car, big success. Then, it is okay, but not really okay in the sense of spiritual practice. So normally what we do is we dedicate our merits for the Buddha Dharma to survive, to live long. Because we call this Pende Jungne. That means Buddhism, from our point of view, is the source of happiness and joy for all sentient beings. So of course, if you follow the instruction and if you live by the instruction, then of course you will be happy. You will not experience suffering. So that's why we call this Buddha Dharma as the source of happiness and all the good things. So it is important to dedicate our merits for the survival and also the longevity of Buddha Dharma. And then, whether Buddha Dharma remains or not, it depends on the teachers. If there is no teacher, then nothing can happen. Dharma automatically dies. So that's why normally we include in our dedication for the long life of His Holiness and other Dharma holders, we call it Dharma holders. So whoever involved or whoever is teaching and contributing towards the survival of Dharma. So we dedicate our prayers for their long life and for the fulfillment of their holy wishes. And then only then we can say, then we can also dedicate for all sentient beings to be happy and all that. And then finally we can include ourselves, dedicate ourselves last, not the first thing, So after that you can say that, may I and all sentient beings achieve enlightenment. May whatever merit that I have accumulated become the cause to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. And then, of course, in order to achieve enlightenment, we need to practice. And then you can include that, may I be able to practice well. May I be able to meet a qualified teacher. May I be able to practice well. And then, of course, the enlightenment is not something you can achieve just in this life. Of course, it is possible, but it is very difficult for most of us. It will take several lifetimes. So it is important to ensure you get an optimum rebirth after this, so that you will continue your practice. So even if I die, may I achieve a good human rebirth. And then may I be able to meet Dharma. That's very important. If you achieve a good rebirth, high class, whatever, rich family, all these things, if you don't meet Dharma, no point. So it is important to make dedication to meet Dharma. And then not only Dharma, you have to also meet qualified teachers. Not only just meet a teacher. Some teachers, it will destroy your, your future. But it is important to meet a qualified teacher. And not only that, then you receive all the teachings, you'll be able to receive teachings and to practice. So we can include with this, and then also, so normally we recite this Jambe Pavi Chitar Kembadang. So basically it's saying that if you don't know anything, so whatever Manjushri, Jambe Pavi Chitar, whatever Manjushri knows about dedication, whatever the way they dedicate, may all my merits be dedicated in the same way. That's the best way. So there's a saying that, one time when people go to Jogang, so normally people from Lhasa, they are known to be very good with this verbal dedication and prayers. And Khambas are known to be not so good about when it comes to verbal dedication. So he was following a Lhasa lady there. And when I came to the Cho, the Lhasa lady made so much dedication. He was so impressed. And he said, oh, whatever that lady, dedicated, oh, that's the same thing with me. So likewise, we are saying whatever, what is the Kundu Sambo, Samenda Batra, and whatever Manjushri, the way they have dedicated, may I dedicate my merit in the same way. So let's spend maybe 1 minute just doing the dedication, mentally doing the dedication, and then we will recite the prayers. Mm-hmm.
Saji.
Beje George Medo Dama Rera Alenje Nyende